Hello, my name is Amy Lightfoot. I work for the British Council in India, and we're here in Delhi at the 11th Language and Development Conference. I'm here now with Sozinho Francisco Matsinhe, one of our featured speakers from the conference. Sozinho is currently the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Council for the Development of Social Science Research in Africa. He was previously the Executive Secretary of the African Academy of Languages in the African Union Commission based in Mali. Currently based in Senegal, that's yes. Right, but originally from Mozambique.
Yes.
So you've had a fantastic experience of all the multilingual nature of Africa.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And how many languages do you speak yourself?
Well, I speak some English and some Portuguese, some French, some Swahili, and I speak very well my mother tongue, which is Tsonga, which is spoken in South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and some bits in Swaziland.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, I attended your talk yesterday. Thank you very much for that. It was very interesting. And there was a couple of themes that came up from your talk that I thought we could have a chat about. One of the things was that you mentioned about the need to consider the relationship between language, pedagogy, and the quality of education. And it's something that's come up, I think, as a bit of a theme throughout the conference. Could you comment on that, what you think the interplay is there?
Yes. You see, what you have in Africa, let's contextualize the answer. In Africa, you have a situation whereby they are the former colonial languages. We are speaking about English, French, Portuguese, and Spanish, which are the official languages. And you have the African languages on the other side, which are spoken by the vast majority of the people.
Sure.
The official languages, the former colonial languages, are spoken by a small minority, if you remember my slide, confined to the urban areas. Now, the question here is how to make sure that when people go to school, acquire relevant knowledge, which will be relevant for their life, which will help them to change their life for the better. Do you do it in the former colonial language, which has nothing to do with their lives? Do you do it in the mother tongue? So you have all this debate about mother tongue-based education. And unfortunately, most of the time when we talk about mother tongue-based education, as I said yesterday, is an attempt to address a pedagogical problem.
Right.
Because you see, when you get these kids, these learners, they go to school, they learn Portuguese, learn English, French. It's not what they use at home. The risk is that we will have a higher incidence of dropouts and poor performance. So people are saying, well, in order to address this issue, we need to start the basic education in the mother tongue. So you are using the mother tongue as a bridge to learn better English, Portuguese, French, and Spanish. Now, the question which, as far as I know, nobody has addressed properly is, what would happen to these languages, which are part and parcel of the life of the majority, if there were no pedagogical problems?
Right.
What do we do with them? So, I mean, this is the question. So I think in order to have quality education, meaningful, first of all, you need to have the proper content. I was giving the example yesterday of the Acholi ladies who dance with pots in their heads. There are 9 and none of them falls. I think that is really a practical example of physics in action. But you won't find that in any compendium I know of physics.
Right.
So physics remains strange. People think it's difficult. It shouldn't be difficult. So first of all, you need to have some kind of a balance. One is not either or. Either mother tongue or foreign language or vice versa, no. It's a question of equity. You make sure that all the languages go together because you want these people to unlock their potential and become relevant citizens in their societies.
Yeah.
The second thing is it makes sure that the content has got something to do with them. it will be much easier to learn because they will relate to the things they know in their environment. Even if you were to change the environment, they will change things which they know. So this is the issues we need to debate and address properly. So my position here is, it's not either or. It's, language equity. Each language has got its own work to do. Labor division. The content has to be proper. Teacher training will also be relevant because we'll be training teachers to teach what they know. It's very interesting because some of us, when we were learning English, we were told about Buckingham Palace, Trafalgar Square. Things were sort of dreams because we never saw these places. But if the teaching and learning related to the things we know, how do you call the things we eat in English? How do you call the fish in English which you find in your lake? It could have been much easier and much better, and we could have flown much higher to learn about Buckingham Palace, Trafalgar Square, whatever you want to tell us about. So I think this the debate we need to take seriously. But what makes me sad is that each time we talk about mother tongue based education, it's an attempt to solve a pedagogical problem. And so the question is, if there were no pedagogical challenges, what would you do with these people and their language? This is a question we need to address. I was listening to the speaker this morning. I'm not a specialist in his area. But the question is, yes, you have this linguistic diversity in England, Leeds, but the question is how to use the language of the migrant as a tool for themselves to be integrated in the British society. We need to meet each other halfway.
That's right. And also as a tool for the wider British society to also develop and grow as well. There's no reason why it has to just be a one-way process.
That's what I mean. We need to meet halfway, each other halfway.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think your point about relevance and the need for curriculum, for content to be relevant to the students, I mean, it cuts, like you said, across all disciplines, across all subjects. It's not just about language, it's about the content of the physics book or the content of the geography book or whatever it might be. And I think that's something that we've seen over the years in many development contexts, that content is just not rooted in the culture and country that it's meant for.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. And also, I think you mentioned there about teacher training, and for us at the British Council, that's something that we are heavily invested in, working with teachers and teacher education, professional development. And again, I think that's another area, would you agree, that needs to be...
Yes, I think in your case, when you train your teachers in a context where there are other languages, and the British Council accepts that, as I heard some of the most senior people from the British Council saying that the English is not the replacement of other languages.
That's right.
If that is the case, then in your efforts to train and develop teachers, you need to take this into account. One of the things which I found all over Africa is that when we train our teachers, for example, to teach in Mozambique, we seem to forget that they are going to operate in a multilingual settings. So they use methodologies of teaching a second language, or L2 as we call it, for L1 situations. It doesn't work.
No.
So I would have expected that the British Council will be sensitive to this type of things. There's nothing wrong with English. In fact, English, if it was a human being, not a language, it would be the billionaire of this world, because it unites the world. We are sitting here because you speak English, I speak English. That's fantastic for advancement of human beings. But that should not be done at the expense of other cultures and language. It won't work. The future of English for example, in India, will depend on what you do to the Indian languages, which are spoken by the vast majority of these people. So in your efforts, the way I see it, it's my humble opinion, in your effort to train teachers, you should be sensitive to the fact that there are other languages around English, which probably occupy much more space than English.
Yeah.
This is very important.
No, I think that's true. And also that very good point there that we think about it in terms of L1, L2, and in fact it's L1, which could be, 15 different L1s within that classroom in a multilingual environment. Absolutely, I think that also brings me on to the second question that I wanted to ask you, which was about something that you said at the end of your talk around being pragmatic, and that some of these issues around language get very tied up in politics or emotion, and people have ideas about how to solve some of the problems in a way that perhaps panders to that politicization of the language. But in fact, at the end of the day, they're not, it's not actually the most practical way to go about solving it. And you made a couple of comments about that. I wondered if you could expand.
Yes, you see, when I make the comments about that during my talk, it's because there were two colleagues who said that the Latin script is not proper to represent the sounds of African languages. And I was saying to them, look here, in my work I met two people, very sophisticated people, who developed something which could be regarded as an alternative to the Latin script. And I said to them, yes, this is very, very nice, but look, we've come a long way. We've got machines, we've got printers, we've got all these things. Are we going to throw them away and start developing something new to accommodate what you are suggesting? We have to be pragmatic. Because, first of all, we have to convince the people to throw away the machines. Secondly, we have to teach them how to use the new script. And there's a long tradition in teaching languages which was based on Latin script. So we have to be pragmatic. But you can extend that to the debate on language policies. When you think of language policies, you are correct in saying that language is attached to our emotions. I give you a very simple example. In my country, Mozambique, because of the assimilation policy, the Portuguese have adopted, they want to assimilate the Mozambicans. The British were much smarter because they left a space for the colonized to do his own things. But the Portuguese, they said, they want to turn me into Portuguese, look at my name and all that. Now, when we started the debate on mother tongue education, now we call it bilingual education, to sound much better and attractive. Some elites were not prepared to, members of the elite, to listen to this type of things. Some of them did speak their mother tongue. Others never spoke it. But when they realized that these things were coming into the education system, all of them were for, hey, where's my language? What are you doing about my language? So all of a sudden, we're the wholesale of languages coming into education system. Because it's sentimental, it's part of myself. Now, we were saying, yes, this is good, but we need to be pragmatic somehow here, because we can't do all these things the way you are saying we need to do them. We need to be pragmatic and look at our reality, teacher training, how long it will take us, because it's good and well to say that we're having bilingual education, but without teachers it would collapse. And those who are against will come back to us and say, we told you that this thing doesn't work, now you see. So we have to be pragmatic and take it slowly, bit by bit. There are political issues also coming in, but we shouldn't get bogged down to this type of things, because sometimes political things are not based in any logic we know. So we have to be pragmatic when we make the decisions about which language to use, how to use it, when and how. So this is another dimension of being pragmatic.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time to come and speak to me. Thank you very much for watching. And we'll put a link to Sozinho's talk with the text accompanying this video, so you can go and take a look at that if you haven't already.
Well, thank you very much to the British Council
You're very
for
welcome.
inviting me to come. I appreciate the fact that the British Council is aware that there are other languages other than English around it. The British Council I knew as a student was a bit different.
Right.
But I'm pleased and I'm glad. And I think you will have a lot of success in what you are doing if you follow this approach.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.